fortress of this best of three series right now. Game one, Terraform, goes to JimRising, so he is one game away from potentially moving on to the winners match tonight. Tonight we have Zeal, HuShang, ByRada, and JimRising. So two Protosses and a Zerg. Here we are loading into Iron Fortress, and any predictions?
I really favor Zerg in ZVP, especially on this map. They have a really easy time attacking into the Protoss' third base. But given last game, it didn't even get to that point. So Zeal might have another two base all-in prepared for JimRising. So I think it's going to depend on that, how comfortable he is taking a third base and holding it on this map. Or if he wants to at all.
I completely agree with you. It is very hard to take a third as Protoss, and we'll probably see another two-base play from the player there. And take us away, Kaboosh, for the first player in the bottom left.
All right, in the bottom left, we have the Red Zerg from Endurance Esports taking that last game in a very close manner. It is JimRising.
And his opponent, the man who very well made two-base, the yellow Zerg player, Zeal. Oh yeah, the zoom in. I just gotta say, thanks to Hawkeye, like, even if I try to zoom in when I'm solo casting, I end up like wonkily like, hey, I'm kind of like bashing the camera against the Nexus or whatever the starting building is. It is very hard to achieve, but shout out to Hawkeye. Thank you, Hawkeye. Yeah, thank you, Hawkeye, for rubbing in my face, but shout out to Hawkeye for the lovely obsing and everything. He is our obs and one of the organizers. Also to Kaboosh, obviously, for casting, but he's also an organizer.
Yeah, RSL's a ton of fun. Definitely huge shout out to Hawkeye. He's the man mostly behind the scenes, but sometimes puts his pretty face up on stream.
Sometimes he does, but I've never seen him because I can't watch those because it's when I'm casting with him. Ugh. And I'm still waiting for the day that I see Hawkeye and I'm like, whoa! Wow, it's not at all what... I have this image, I have this mental image, and I'm waiting till when I actually see a picture of him to see if I'm correct. You don't get to know the mental image either. Zeal once again, actually not once again, but will be going for a gate fast expand. Does provide him a lot of possibilities for some of those early kind of Sentry Zealot pushes, but not quite as much as the Cannon Rush. And albeit it's a 4-player map, why even try to do the Cannon Rush unless you accidentally like scout them first time?
Yeah, a little strange to see him go for the low ground gateway. But we're going to see what he wants to do with this. He is going to... It's kind of a strange wall. I've never seen this before. Like, there is space for the Cyber Core on the left side of the pylon.
Well, he just needed that 16 pylon and kind of wonkily put the Nexus down. It's not quite perfectly timed out, so he needed to free up some supply through the pylon down. He will have the Cyber, slightly delayed, but yeah, you're right. He could... Oh, will he make this? Will it be perfectly right there? It will be perfectly right there, so definitely Banelings. You got to be worried about that, but a Force Field can nicely defend those two pylons here. So for now, Zeal will be doing kind of an awkward gate expand, and honestly, with the late Cybernetics core, I don't think you can really be aggressive off the back of this.
Probably not. He went Nexus double gas Cyber, which is not a very common build. I honestly have no idea what he's going to go for here. Something very gas heavy.
I agree with you, because I believe you're a Protoss player and I'm a Protoss player, and we're both kind of looking at that like, well, kind of did it all sort of slightly rough, so we'll see. This time, though, we're playing the bottom left-hand corner. The Red Zerg will be going for Metabolic Boost. He's going for speed, and looks like relatively that he's going to be a little bit more aggressive, or not necessarily a little bit more aggressive, but he's going to have control of the early game, where Zergs normally are, unlike Game 1.
Yeah. JimRising get really unlucky with his Overlord scouts here. He has sent them both to the wrong base, and he's going to see now with this Overlord coming in. But he was very cautious taking a really late third base versus Protoss. And he's pulled out of gas, so he's planning to macro quite a bit here. Probably get some third base saturation before he starts pumping units.
With only now scouting his Protoss opponent, definitely a little bit worried about a cannon rush or something. Probably not the 2-base all-in, because maybe I guess like you could send the early Zealot out, but it's not going to hit by the time, or at least 2-base all-in won't hit by the time you take your third base. But nice little pickup here. We'll get that probe. JimRising just attaining map control. He wants to know what Zeal is doing and when it happens, and Scouts no gas at the natural base, and at least that is a little bit better, but Zeal will be doing the Dark Shrine.
Yeah, that is definitely a nice use for those early gas he got. It is tucked away in the back corner of his base, and he's got pylons positioned on the bottom corner, so he's going to be able to deny any overlords that try to come in and scout. So JimRising should not be able to scout what's going on here. He might have to make a judgment call based on the lack of tech.
Especially in the lack of tech and only having 1 sentry. In previous times, Zeal had like 2 or 3 sentries out, just a lot of them, where now the gas has gone into the DT shard and that Twilight Council. So, yeah, as you said, he'll have to make a big judgment call here, and I'm seeing DT shrines and DTs more and more and just PV whatever, and I feel like it's them playing Legacy of the Void and be like, DT is good in both of them, why not? You can't see them what could be wrong with this unit. Like, what could be wrong with it?
I really like this. There's some spores made by JimRising here, and then the hallucinated oracle comes in from Zeal. So I'm not sure what kind of mind games that has, like what implications that has, if any, on Jim's mental state, what he's expecting here. But he actually canceled the spore at third base upon seeing the hallucinated oracle. So I'm not sure if he's expecting DTs at all, and he hasn't made. All he has is Zerglings.
Layer will be done in about 5 seconds here, but there's no Overseers, and those DTs are moving into that third base. Instantly, the drones are out. JimRising realizing, okay, that's what you're doing. He's identified it. We see an Overseer morphing in, and all the Lings pulling back. In the previous game, it was a 2-base versus kind of 3 or 4, whatever you want to call it, but JimRising did have the economy lead, and he wants to keep that in this game, but sadly he's going to lose it. Will clean up those DTs. Thankfully, though, the DTs didn't spread out to his natural and main kind of respectively, and how normally some Protosses do it, and, well, Archon barely doesn't quite get finished, and now the aggression can start from JimRising. As you said, Kaboosh, he is a very aggressive player.
Yeah, it definitely hurts losing that third base, but he did get 3 DTs for it. And Zeal made a bunch of sentries at home, so I don't know if he's planning to push out and take his third base. I can't imagine. No, it's okay. Looks like it might be. Oh, he's got a lot of sentries for the blink all-in, so that could be very powerful. It looks like he's got money for a Nexus. We're gonna see if he wants to take that or just push out and mount that attack.
Will be a very potent attack, especially when your base is that walled in, as we can see, and it's moving out right now, but it doesn't have a Warp Prism with it, and there's no Robo for Zeal. Is there even a Robo here? There's no Proxy Pylon, so there's the Proxy Pylon going down, but an awkward position. For now, JimRising will pull back. Sadly, he may lose that Overseer, which would actually be pretty good for JimRising here. Sorry, Zeal, he will be able to warp in some DTs if he wants, but JimRising, oh man, throws away a lot of Lings kind of on accident. I don't know on accident, but throws away a decent amount of Lings, and he does have Roaches, but he really needed the Lings to complement them, or they're not really going to do that much damage here. We'll see. JimRising, he's got to be patient, stack up some more Roaches, but here are 10 just about to pop.
We also see the Burrow coming in again, which is going to be also really strong against this blink attack. He's doing a great job buying time here with these Roaches. They come in, fight for a little bit, take some damage, and burrow. And he's going to pop up, snipe some sentries, and then just burrow again.
And in this case, Zeal again does not have Robo. Not only does he not have a Warp Prism, but no Observer. So I love how he stops there. He's like, I know you're there. Like, I know you're here, guys. Just stay down. Like, I'm just staying on top of you. But we do see a big Zealot warp in right here. Roaches one by one getting picked up, but 14 more on the way, and this is just providing so much extra time for JimRising. I will remind you, JimRising is a +1. Oh, losing 1 by 1 Roach here and there. Both players up +1, but JimRising was able to secure his third base. And for now, I'd love to see Tunneling Claws just to completely head on out of here. But back at home, Robo is almost done. But oh, a lot of Roaches on Burrow. It's not quite enough for JimRising to actually break through. But with the Burrow micro, he can make something happen.
The real strength of this all-in is not the Blink Stalkers, but the sentry count. And Jim has been doing a really good job of limiting that. Every time he pops up, he picks off a few. He takes a handful of Roaches and snipes a sentry or two. and then burrows again. And he's just getting so many roaches out. His macro is definitely kicking in from this third base, and he's just going to be able to overpower Zeal unless he pushes in soon.
Zeal did show us some phenomenal Sentry micro, or at least force field. And by the way, his Robo was proxied. I just got to point that out. I don't know if we actually realized that, but the Robo was proxied at the top right-hand side of the screen. But there is only 3 sentries this time for Zeal. Yes, he's got Blink, but he doesn't have the other hand. He doesn't have the other half of those tools that he had in the previous games. But now the force fields are actually very good, keeping a lot of Zelts in. There's the Observer there. GG! Zeal takes game 2, evening up 1-1.
Zeal pushed in at the perfect timing. He took the perfect fight with JimRising trying to come back down that ramp, and got just basically the perfect engagement there. Really well played from him.
Definitely very well played for Zeal, and honestly, JimRising, it's maybe he could have burrowed there, but at the time the Observer was there, he kind of got too... He was lulled into a sense of security that, okay, cool, I got Burrow, I can keep doing this, and then just really got smashed, as you mentioned, against those force fields. And game 1 it was even, game 2 is surprisingly even right here.
Yeah, I don't want to say I wasn't expecting, but I'm really pleasantly surprised that we have such a close series between these two players.
Definitely very pleasantly surprised, and this is the second game in a best-of-3 series. I don't know if we have the other players here for tonight. Let me make sure. Still not sure, but nevertheless, we should have some phenomenal games for Game 3. I presume is going to be Cactus Valley, which never is fun for the Zerg player playing against those kind of more Blink Stalker-orientated plays.
With the baguette style of Protoss.
It's the only thing you can call it. Like, it's not Stalker Sentry, it's Baguette. Like, just shut up.
Yeah. Like, we have seen the meta of PvZ evolve to the Zergs going for like the quick tunneling claws burrowed roaches and just trying to get under the Stalker Sentry army. We saw Jim kind of do something similar here. He didn't quite get the tunneling claws, but do you think he's going to go for a similar playstyle again in the next game?